Hey guys, this is gonna be how to play the new gameplay mode in Reverse 1999 called Syndrome of Silence. So let's hop in and see what this is all about. When you start your run, there are preparations that you have to do before you start your run, but more on that later at the end of this video. So, if you are hit with this screen and you want to start your run, then the first thing, the very most important thing you have to understand is how these stats upgrades here work. We have a lot of different stats we can upgrade, like perception, dexterity, resolve, intelligence. And if you just look at that, right, and read yourself a little bit through it, you would come to the quote-unquote logical solution to prioritize the stats upgrade that are highlighted here with a star, the recommended stats upgrade. That is what you want to prioritize. At least that's what you would think logically, right? That is not true though, because the most important stat upgrade that you can get, and this is the most valuable tip anyone can give you, this is the most important part of this entire gameplay mode, is to focus on perception and upgrade perception as fast and as much as possible, like as you can, you know what I mean? Because not only does it give your entire team critical hit rate and critical resistance, but even more importantly, believe it or not, is to reduce the amount of RNG from your dice rolls. Every single dice roll that you perform in this game has now a higher chance for you to actually win this dice roll. And that's the most important thing. There are a lot of very important and very valuable dice rolls that you would absolutely love to win, especially when it comes to stealing stuff from the shop. But more onto that in just a second. Now, the second thing that you have to know is what path you take and which nodes you actually enter. And yeah, the most basic thing, the most obvious thing now that you know, that you have to upgrade perception first, and after perception you aim for intelligence and resolve, and after that the other two, right? That will already make you understand and realize that you always check out the path and you go every time for a node that has a possible perception upgrade, like the one you see here on top of your screen. If you enter this node, there is a chance that you gain a perception upgrade. That is always the node that you aim for every single run and every single time. Then, moving forward, you can check here, right? You can plan out your route in advance, and you wanna go onto your journey hitting the most amount of possible stat upgrades that you possibly can. No matter what these stat upgrades are, you aim for everything, right? You just prioritize perception first, intelligence second, and resolve first. The other two, you can prioritize whatever the fuck you want, it doesn't matter, right? But perception, intelligence, and resolve in that order. And that is how you plan your route out first. But of course there's a little bit more to it, because what if you plan your route out and there are no possible stat upgrades? What nodes are you gonna aim for then? I have the solution. There are three very important nodes that you absolutely should prioritize every single time. There are two that even stick out here. That is, first of all, as I already mentioned earlier, the shopping time, because here you can steal a super valuable item. Stealing means you get it for free, right? But you have to win the dice roll. This is where perception comes in. And the craftsman's touch, because here with your gold coins, with your goldfinch coins that you obtain via battling, you can buy yourself stat upgrades, or you can even take intelligence stat upgrades there for free. So these two nodes are the most important nodes. Take a little bit of a priority when it comes to the craftsman's touch, because here you can gain a stat upgrade for free. In the shopping time, you would need to win a dice roll. So craftsman's touch, then shopping time, and After that, also quite important, is chance meeting. Here you can also gain very, very beneficial effects by winning dice rolls, and this is also very important note when you want to unlock a specific ending. But yeah, let's talk about that also a little bit later, right? What ending you want to go for doesn't really matter. It doesn't give you any specific rewards, but it gives you a very, very cool boss fight. So there is that. Okay, and yeah, if you do not hit the craftsman's touch, the shopping time, or a chance meeting, then you're gonna go fight to obtain coins. You always take the most dangerous battle, so to speak. Here, the dreadful clash, the heated confrontation, or a skirmish is also pretty good. You can grind out this tower for very, very good items, and even a stats upgrade in the end as well. So super valuable. Let me say that one more time. Craftsman's touch, shopping time, chance meeting. If you don't get access to these nodes, you fight. Alright, let's check out the overview, because here, yeah, we just talked about these nodes right here. Here are resonators, and yeah, you will see that when you fight, you can gain some nodes. You have 3 different nodes in this game: the ritual node, dynamo node, and the rank up node. You want to aim for a resonator that gives you as many ritual nodes as possible. The priority list is the following: ritual node first priority, dynamo second, and then the rank up node. That is not too important of information. You don't have to pay too much attention to this. It doesn't matter much. But yeah, in case you want to min-max a little bit, the ritual node is the best thing. So look for a resonator. If you get a resonator that gives you ritual nodes, that writes ritual nodes, take that one. For artifacts, there's only one artifact that you can consistently obtain in this game that would be of a beneficial effect, but yeah, we're gonna talk about those in a second. And the harmonic effects are also something that is very, very randomized, but you can go for a little bit of min-max and synergy there. So let's talk about this a little bit further. Here's an example of 2 resonators, and yeah, the choice is very, very obvious. You take the one that writes 2 ritual nodes. You take the one on the left hand side. You do not take the one that writes 2 rank up nodes, because ritual nodes improve your damage output more than any other node in this game would, and that is why we prioritize those. Here's a very good example when it comes to which harmonics to take. You of course gonna take the one in the middle, right? Allies do not consume AP when casting ultimates. When entering battle, all allies gain 5 moxie. That's like one of the best harmonics in the game that you can possibly obtain with pretty much every single team in this game. You wanna either play Blood Tide, Dynamo, Afterglow, or Impromptu in this mode. Those 4 teams are the most beneficial for you to play. I started off with playing the Dynamo team, and I played Robushka instead of Ezra, and it is very, very easy with this kind of team. So you can see, right? In case you would play the Impromptu team though, you would probably go for the Impromptu incantations that deal 100% increased damage, right? Needless to explain. But in general, the middle node here is the most beneficial. And yeah, you can of course go for a little bit of synergies there. Like Moxie consumption is lowered when we use our ultimates. That is some node. You can combine this with this one right here that gives you 5 Moxie right out of the gate. There are nodes that increase your damage output with ultimates and all that stuff, right? A good recommendation is that if possible, focus on one thing and yeah, like go for a synergy here. If you take that Impromptu incantation deals plus 100 damage, go for other nodes that also have something to do with increasing the damage output or whatever for your Impromptu incantations, right? I think this is needless to explain. What I found the most effective thing in this game is to focus on ultimates, right? Gain Moxie, reduce Moxie consumption, gain damage on ultimates, etc, etc. But yeah, you can take this any route that you want. Just to recommend it is to play one of the 4 teams that I mentioned. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about some events in this game, like depending on which nodes you actually hit on your run. Take this one here for example. Which do you choose, right? You gain 3 reverberations, or whatever this thing is called. You take +1 stat upgrade for resolve, or you obtain the master key. You always, every single time, no matter what, you go always for the stat increase. The only time you wouldn't go for a stat increase is whenever you would have maxed out one of your stats already. You have a stat maxed out when it is at 12 points. Then the stat is maxed out, and then you can go for other stuff. You, for example, prioritize artifacts over harmonics. You always gamble to gain the artifact crude stuff. More into that in just a second. Let's scroll through my screenshots here and see what else I can tell you. Here, let's take a look at all of these 3 options in the Craftsman's Touch. Let's find out if you listen to me. Now, pick one of you. What is the best node for you here to pick? Pick one, please. Do we go for the first one, in which we discard an harmonic or an artifact and we can choose a new one? We can do this 2 times. Do we enhance an artifact, or do we increase our stats? What are we going to do here? The answer is, of course, we increase our stats. That is the most important thing in this game. And you pray that you gain the chance of increasing perceptions. Now here, most of the time, you will gain the chance to increase your intelligence. But you also have the option here. Take a look at this one. You increase your intelligence by 1. Or let's say you would have the 200 coins that he wants to increase a random stat by +2. Which one is better here? The answer is, if you would have this 200 gold, you would spend it, because +2 to a random stat has still a bigger amount of value than increasing your intelligence by 1. Even if you focus on, or you prioritize intelligence, still +2 is always better than +1, no matter what, except if this +1 would be perception. Okay, then here you have another option, right? What is better? Lose 200 gold flinch coins and you increase a random stat by 2, or you pay 300 coins and you increase the stat of your choice. I just told you the answer. Now let's see if you listened, right? What is better? You pay the 300 coins to increase a stat of your choice. What is the stat of your choice? It is perception, of course. Told you multiple times. See, look, I asked you like 2 or 3 questions right now. If you answered them wrong, then yeah, you should watch this video all the way from the beginning again. Okay, here, what do you take? You gained 100 coins, dexterity, perception. You know the answer, you go for perception here every day of the week. And yeah, you can see that once you have perception leveled up to level 6, for example, the chance meeting now offers an extra perception option, right? I told you already that you aim for these chance meeting tiles, so see, it all comes together in the end. Now here's another very, very important screen, right? Kind of important. What do you go for here? Do you go for next morning, or do you go for next midday? Let's read it. Next morning would be increases the spawn rates of chance collusion and treasure hunts nodes. The next midday would increase the spawn rates of chance meeting and heated confrontation. What do you go for? The answer is next midday. Why? Because we are aiming for the tiles that say chance meeting, and heated confrontation, excuse me, is also very, very beneficial, because guess what? That's a battle. Okay, and here we are coming into the shopping time. Now here there is important stuff. You always, every single day of the week, every time, aim for the crude stuff. You will barely ever have the coins to purchase this. That's why you can go for the option to steal. You see this on the right hand side of your screen in the upper corner there, below the coins. That is what you always gonna aim for. Now there is a caveat. Because in order for you to steal this crude stuff, you would have to roll a die. And you will have to hit 16 at least. Especially early on, that is barely ever gonna happen. So if you are like me and you roll a 1, then you not gonna steal that crude stuff. So you are hit with two options right here. You can either return the stolen items and get out for free without any punishment, or you can actually fight the shopkeeper to then still steal the stuff. The problem is, or the caveat here is that once you choose the violence and you kill the shopkeeper to steal that stuff, once you hit another shopping time tile, you will not be able to steal again, right? So if you lose the dice roll early on, like the two first times, the first time and the second time, you hit a shopping time tile, you lose the dice roll, right? If that happens, then you return the stolen items. So you will have an additional chance to steal later on when you hit another shopping time node, and then you have perception leveled up, and at some point you are 100% guaranteed to win that dice roll no matter what. And once you hit a dice roll, you can keep stealing and stealing and stealing as long as you win the dice roll. That is why you don't want to give up on this dice roll or the opportunity to steal early on. And that is why I said that early on you return the items. The third time you hit a shop and you still would lose the die roll, then you choose violence. Let's take a look at what this crude stuff actually is, and also let's take a look at some other items, and we will realize very fast why this crude stuff is the key. Because when you obtain this artifact, when you steal this crude stuff, you gain a random stat and then this artifact is lost. That is all we want. We want to gain stat increases as much and as fast as possible. That is by far the best artifact in the entire game, and that is what you always gonna aim for. Now let's take a look at some other items as well. Here, the fish scale glove. It would give you 2 reverberations. Those things are completely useless. They are used to revive a character in case it would die. You don't want a character to die in the first place, so you don't need revives. Therefore, these reverberations are completely useless, and you should always ignore them every single time, right? And never go for them. Then here, the cold light folding fan. That's a little bit of a better item here at the start of the round. For each ritual node, which we aim for, on the score, allies gain ultimate might, right? Remember the harmonics that increase your ultimate might as well and give you the moxie and stuff. That has very, very good synergy. But this one is also, you would only ever go for this after you have already stolen the crude stuff. If you steal the crude stuff, you know, then you can steal something else. Then you could go for this cold light folding fan if you go for this ultimate kind of type of synergy, but it's a very, very good item for every single team in the game. So that is what you could aim for if you already stole the crude stuff or you have the cash available to yourself. Then this one here, gain a random stat after completing a heated confrontation. That is not good. How often do we complete the heated confrontations? Not very, very often. So that is too inconsistent, right? Here, for the impromptu team, very, very good stuff here, the tinnitus for the impromptu team. So if you don't go for an ultimate type of synergy, but you play the impromptu team, that is the item that you then would steal second, right? And yeah, the rest explains itself. This would be the item here that you steal after the crude stuff if you play Dynamo, right? Self-explanatory. I think you get the point. The most important note to take away here is to steal that crude stuff. Now let's take a look at this one right here. This is also interesting. You will hit these events, right, where you either are offered a stat increase for, let's say, intelligence, but you have intelligence already at 12. You have already maxed it out, so you wouldn't need it anymore. And then you have different options, or you are straight up just hit with these two options here. Obtain an epic harmonic or obtain an epic artifact. The choice that you always, 100% of the time, no matter what, always go for is to take that artifact, because it will give you the chance to obtain accrued stuff. Here, this for example, this is something that can happen to you. You have the choice to pick one out of 3 accrued stuffs. You gain +3 for either intelligence or perception here, or you can even increase 3 random stats once, right? Absolutely incredible and fantastic. You of course know which one to pick. It is perception, of course. I have another example right here. Give me a second. This one right here. See, also a screen that if you choose to obtain an artifact, you gain the option of these 3 different crude stuffs. Gain strength +2, gain perception +2. You see how absolutely incredible this is, but still it is at the end of the day, it is a gamble. So if you are offered stat increases for a stat that you don't have maxed out, go for the stat flat out instead of going for the artifact gamble, right? But artifact always over harmonic every day of the week. Here, this is a possible thing that can happen when you go for chance meetings, right? Which you will do. So here you have options. You always gonna join the mob. You never go against them. Here, read the options. What the first option here on top is, what are you doing? No, that is never a question that you would ask a mob. The mob would attack you, they would hate you, and that is not what you want. You want to be safe, right? So what you're gonna do is, you're gonna join the mob. Now, it makes a lot of sense if you read what the options here are. Here, what are you doing? Would hit you with perception check. On a success, you gain 1 strength, dexterity or intelligence. Cool. But if you join them, on success, you gain a perception or a resolve. Way better, right? Needless to explain. Of course, you have a little bit of a less of a chance to actually win this perception or the resolve, but still, you always gonna go for that gamble. Never go against the mob, always go with the mob. That is also very important for the best ending, what we call the real ending, where you hit a pretty incredibly strong boss at the end. If you join the mob 5 times throughout your journey, you will be hit with like the real ending and a different end boss. That is another upside to this if you aim for this achievement, right? Let's say you would successfully join them, you would win the dice roll, you gain the chance for another dice roll, which you can win at a lesser amount of chance though. But if you manage throughout your journey to join the mob 5 times, you are hit with a different end boss. Just real quick, here's another screen that sometimes you are asked to trade off some stats in order to gain other beneficial effects. You always gonna trade off like intelligence or resolve. You're never gonna trade off perception, but the other 2 stats of yours that you increase anyways can be traded in. Right, you do not want to decrease your strength, you do not want to decrease your dexterity. You want to decrease a stat that you will fill up again anyways, and in this case right here it would be intelligence, right? So if you are hit with this screen, decrease either resolve or intelligence, because those are the 2 stats that you're gonna fill up anyways again. Perception is too important to get rid of, so keep that one in mind as well. And also in battle, right, when you are battling, then your incantations, some incantations, they will have a note above them. A blue one, a green one, a purple one, right? Do not let your rotation suffer from this. Play your team and do not pay too much attention to these nodes, you know. A little bit of emphasis can be put onto the blue nodes compared to other nodes, but play your team correctly, focus on your rotations above those nodes. The nodes, don't pay too much attention to them when you are actually battling. Okay, now that we know everything when it comes to our actual run, let's see what we do after the run, or yeah, even before our run. Let's check the wordless workshop, or yeah, before even that. After you finished your run, you will obtain some keepsake materials. You will obtain some items here, and these items, they can actually be crafted right here. Early on, you have the choice between those two right here, this spider thing called momentary hesitation, that would allow you to obtain additional keepsake materials after your run. Or you can go for this flower here, the rusty blossom, that says when entering a new area, you would obtain coins and a harmonic even. Sounds pretty good. But you want to keep it at momentary hesitation, because you want to always obtain additional keepsake materials. They are very, very important. So you can see these materials down here, and those materials are what you absolutely need in order for you to craft one of these momentary hesitations. So we're gonna go ahead and do that, but that's not all. Now you can add additional materials to this to craft it, right, and craft it the way you want. Let's check it out. If I would be able to, or if I would put this item into it, then every time I complete a shopping time node, I obtain 100 coins. If I would put in this essence here, then upon collecting 12 harmonics, I would obtain a random epic harmonic. Or if I put in the decoration, every time you complete 2 treasure hunt nodes, I obtain a random artifact, you know, stuff like that. And the ones that you always gonna go for are stat increases, like this irregularity here. Every time you complete 3 chance meeting nodes, remember, ones that we are always gonna go for as much as possible, we gain a random stat. That is absolutely fantastic. So that's how you know that is what you're gonna put in. But you can put in a second item, and yeah, you're gonna read, and you will easily understand what are you going for. You don't focus on coins, you don't focus on these nodes right here like chance collision. You're not gonna step on these. You don't focus on harmonics. What you're gonna aim for is stat increases and artifacts. Here, complete a rest side node, you gain a reverberation, the most useless trash of them all, right? So yeah, you either go for the essence here with the epic harmonic. In my case, right, you will have probably other items, or you obtain the 100 coins, because we don't have anything better than that. So that is what you're gonna do. You even gonna craft useless stuff that you don't want. You will craft here as much as possible. Why? Because of something that I will show you right now. Here you have a screen here. Her growing volition is what it's called. This one right here. And here you have a skill tree, so to speak, that you have to fill out. In order to fill this out, you need growth beads, and you will only obtain these growth beads by actually crafting the items the way I just showed you. So you want to craft as many items as possible, as fast as possible, to obtain these growth beads and further max out your skill tree right here. That is very, very important, and that is why you should also craft useless stuff that you're never gonna use anyways. But if you craft, you can fill out this skill tree. So there you go. Then you have an instrument that you pick, and the instrument that you're gonna pick early on, you stay with the tubular bell. You do not go for the strings, they are much worse. Stay with the tubular bill and then proceed your run as I just explained that to you. And that was it, guys. That was my guide when it comes to how to play the new gameplay mode Syndrome of Silence in Reverse 1999. I hope that was fun and informative. If you like Reverse 1999 content in general, please consider leaving a follow on my channel. I would really appreciate it. But until next time, don't forget to join the Discord server, link in the description down below. Take care of yourselves, have a great day, and we love this game.